Hey guys, David Jelks here from Factor 3 Fitness, and I just want to take a couple seconds. I'm just unpacking my suitcase from my, my last couple weeks of travel, and I was in the conversation with somebody in Las Vegas just a few days ago, and they're asking, what was so different about what Factor 3 is? Why would this program be any different than anything else that's out there on the market? And undoubtedly there's a ton of things that you can choose from. Just go into your search browser right now and type in fitness programs, and you'll find, of course, hundreds of thousands of possibilities. But fundamentally, the difference is what we decided, or what I had decided after my 2 decades in the industry, that I was tired of people coming in to train and just wanting to show up to exercise. People wanted to come in for these half-hour appointments, so they could fit it in between their appointments and picking their kids up, or after work or at lunch. They wanted to fit all this stuff in. But the problem is the fitting it in doesn't really work. We still see every year people are really not getting a whole lot better. We see people going to the gym off and on for years and years, and really not actually making any significant changes. So, I mean, something's better than nothing for sure, don't get me wrong. But what we really like to see is the successful attainment of these goals that we had in our head for some time. So when you're buying a program like Insanity and the 10-minute trainer and all these things you can buy online, you're following a fitness system, but it tends to be kind of a one-dimensional scenario. When I look at really developing high degree of fitness, high degree of success in fitness, it's why I started competing in bodybuilding shows, because I wanted to see what was different. What was different about the psychology of training for something like a show, as opposed to just training for fitness. And I realized that general fitness, the whole conversation around it, is fairly ambiguous. People often say, well, I just want to be in better shape. Well, round's a shape. What shape are you looking for specifically? And if you could, with the same amount of time and effort put into training, if you'd show up on the cover of a magazine, and let's say in 90 days, and all you had to do was change your mind, we could provide all the instruments and all the tools, but what you had to do is fundamentally change your point of view, would that be acceptable? Would you like to show up on the cover of a magazine? And we know it's possible for people to do some pretty incredible things with the physiology if their head goes there first. So what really, at the end of the day, what's really different about Factor 3 is the educational process that surrounds it. I'm not interested in people coming to get a really good workout. You don't need me for that. You don't need Factor 3 for that at all. Yes, you'll get a really good workout, but it's not why I developed it. I developed it because I was tired of people being ignorant to how this thing works. And in this day and age, we can no longer passively just hope things turn out for the best. Not in business, not in relationships, and certainly not in health. We live in an environment that's completely artificial. We don't require to do anything. I'm sitting on my rear end here, and how much more of my day is spent working on the computer than it was in the years gone by. I have to actively more focus on making my hips strong and really focusing on my posture, my flexibility, more so than ever before, because the vast majority of my career now is spent reading books, working on the computer, designing programs, and I'm probably 50% as less active as I was even going back 2 years ago. So knowing that stimulus has changed, I have to find a way to rewire and revamp my life to accommodate more movement. Otherwise, I'm going to pay a fairly significant price over time. So Factor 3 Fitness is the educational piece, because it's my belief that once people start understanding how this process works, we tend to take it less on as a personal flaw. When people say, people have to come up, and I remember the story from years ago. It was a lady come into my facility with a newspaper article I had written, and she said, and I asked her, so why did it take you so long to come up and see me? And she goes, it's because she had read the article 2 years previous to our meeting. And I said, and why are you here? And she looked at me like I was an idiot and said, well, can't you see I'm fat? So I reached across the table and I said, well, I'm Welsh. And she had this little kind of blank look in her face. And I said, listen, you can be late and you can be early. You can be Jewish and you can be East Indian, but you can't be fat. You can have fat. And having fat is the byproduct of a series of behaviors and things occurring. And if we can actually find out what you did to put that on, we can actually walk backwards and reverse engineer the process and take it off. So I realized from that point onward that the psychology of who we think we are is really a big issue. But also, it's not about going up and turning up the dirt of our past over and over again so we feel the misery that we had experienced historically. But it's really understanding, how do we store memories, and how can we go back and retrieve the memories and alter them so that they're actually befitting being in our mind, but we grow them up. So that the experience of you at being 10 and 14 and 18 and all the misery that we experience, we can actually go back as an adult into those memories and actually rewire them. And so I became very fascinated by the science of neurolinguistic programming and the capacity to actually recreate experiences in our mind. It's powerful. Same things go for our physiology. Knowing that we most of us are sedentary individuals now within our careers, you can't just take this bent over flex body and run it to death out on the street. Cycling is the new running, but still, what does cycling still do to the body? It turns it puts the body in a state of flexion even more. So our main goal of Factor 3, well, there's a few goals. Our primary goal of Factor 3 is to make you a smarter athlete, right? To make you smarter at what you do. If you're going to invest the time in fitness anyhow, why not learn the science of how all this stuff works? So just think, if every repetition could be surgical, every set could be on point, and every hour could actually mean something extraordinary, wouldn't that be worth a 90-day experience to try to figure out how that works? And what is the point of having any success if your psychology won't let you enjoy it? If you find that the further the closer you get to your goals, the more you sabotage yourself. Well, there's a process that you can learn how to do throughout the program. And it's an 8-week mindset program that we start in week 2 of the program. It really teaches you the neuroscience of thought and how do we think and why do we think this way. And it's not psychology, it's neurology. It's how the brain works. And so the whole program is based around the premise of we have some control. We have control over how these things work. We have to be willing to slow down and think a little. And a lot of people in this day and age really don't want to slow down. So if you're curious about how this stuff works, you're curious about how the body works, you're curious about how your own psychology works, and how to actually rewire that so you're more wired for success and you're putting up less obstacles in your path. And if you're just sick and tired of actually buying programs and not succeeding, and going to classes and not seeing the results you're looking for, then invest the time for the next 90 days, starting September 5th, to come on and hang out with us. I guarantee it'll be the best money you've ever spent, and it'll be the best education you'll ever got. I mean, this is 23 years of my experience poured in the next 90 days, along with my colleague Simone Soares, who's a kinesiologist and a medical exercise specialist from Brazil. We love information. We love the academics around human movement. We just love this stuff. And we take the complexity of it and rend it down so you get it. Because if you don't understand how this stuff works, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to trip over weight and become strong and lean, and you're not going to accidentally eat the right thing and develop the body fat levels you want. There is a science to all of it. And so if you're willing to think a little bit, stretch your mind a little bit, willing to slow down a little bit, but get twice the results and own them forever, then come hang out with us. The early bird sign up ends August 14th, so that's $150. After that, it's $200. And if you have a significant other living with you, and if they want to join the journey with you, it's just an extra $50. So send us a note on our Factor 3 Ultimate Fitness page, and let us know your thoughts, your ideas, your concerns, your questions, and we'd love to have you join us in September, because again, it's a great educational format, and it's my love of science that really has pushed this thing forward, and also my frustration with people not being successful. So I'm willing to put it all on the table, and you just got to show up and take it. All right, see you guys.